Hello, this is Shmuel Moshe, and you are listening to the Weekly Parashahcast Season 2, the show where I read the Tanakh and provide my own interpretations of what I think it all means. This week's episode falls on the 25th of Sivan, 5785, June 21st, 2025, the weekly portion for Shelach. However, we're going to be continuing where we left off last week with the book of Shmuel Bet, Samuel 2, chapters 22, 23, and 24. Yes, we are concluding the book of Samuel 2 this time. So let's get right on into it. As always, I'd like to remind everybody I'm not a professional Torah or scripture scholar. I'm just somebody who wanted to study the scripture. You could follow along in English on Chabad.org. Let's jump on in. Shmuel Bet, chapter 22, verse 1. And David spoke to the Lord the words of this song on the day that the Lord delivered him from the hand of all his enemies and from the hand of Saul. And he said, The Lord is my rock and my fortress, and a rescuer to me. God is my rock, under whom I take cover, my shield and the horn of my salvation, my support and my refuge. He is my Savior who saves me from violence. With praise I call to the Lord, for from my enemies I shall be saved. For the pains of death have encompassed me, streams of scoundrels would affright me. Bands of those that shall inherit the netherworld have surrounded me, the snares of death confronted me. When I am in distress, I call upon the Lord. Yes, I call upon my God, and out of his abode he hears my voice, and my cry enters his ears. Then the earth shook and quaked, the very foundations of heaven did tremble, and they were shaken when he was angered. Smoke went up his nostrils, and fire out of his mouth did devour. Coals flamed forth from him. And he bent the heavens, and he came down, and thick darkness was under his feet. And he rode upon a cherub and did fly. He was seen upon the wings of the wind. And he fixed darkness about him as booths, gatherings of waters, thick clouds of the skies. From the brightness before him flamed forth coals of fire. The Lord thundered from heaven, and the Most High gave forth his voice. And he sent out arrows, and he scattered them, lightning, and he discomfited them. And the depths of the sea appeared, the foundations of the world were laid bare, by the rebuke of the Lord, and the blast of the breath of his nostrils. He sent from on high, and he took me. He drew me out of many waters. He delivered me from my mighty enemy, from them that hated me, for they were too powerful for me. They confronted me on the day of my calamity, but the Lord was a support to me. And he brought me forth into a wide place. He delivered me because he took delight in me. The Lord rewarded me according to my righteousness. According to the cleanness of my hands he recompensed me. For I have kept the ways of the Lord, and have not wickedly departed from the commandments of my God. For all his ordinances were before me, and as for his statutes I did not depart from it. And I was single-hearted toward him, and I kept myself from my iniquity. And the Lord has recompensed me according to my righteousness, according to my cleanness before his eyes. With a kind one you show yourself kind. With an upright, mighty man you show yourself upright. With a pure one you show yourself pure, but with a perverse one you deal crookedly. And the humble people you do deliver, but your eyes are upon the haughty in order to humble them. For you are my lamp, O Lord, and the Lord does light my darkness. For by you I run upon a troop, by my God I scale a wall. He is the God whose way is perfect. The word of the Lord is tried. He is a shield unto all them that trust in him. For who is God save the Lord? And who is a rock save our God? God is he who has fortified me with strength, and he looseth perfectly my path. He makes my feet like hinds, and sets me upon my high places. He trains my hand for war, so that mine arms do bend a brass bow. And you have given me the shield of your salvation, and you have increased your modesty for me. You have enlarged my steps beneath me, and my ankles have not slipped. I have pursued my enemies, and have destroyed them, never turning back until they were consumed. And I have consumed them, and I have crushed them, that they cannot rise. Yes, they are fallen under my feet. For you have girded me with strength for the battle, you have subdued under me those that rose up against me. And of my enemies you have given me the back of their necks, them that hate me, that I may cut them off. They looked about, but there was no one to save them, even to the Lord, but he answered them not. Then I ground them as the dust of the earth, and the mud of the streets I did tread upon them. I did stamp them down. And you have allowed me to escape from the contenders amongst my people. You shall keep me as head of nations. A people whom I have not known serve me. Strangers lie to me. As soon as their ears hear, they obey me. The strangers will wilt, and become lame from their bondage. The Lord lives, and blessed be my rock, and exalted be the God who is my rock of salvation. the God who takes vengeance for me, and brings down peoples under me, and that brings me forth from my enemies. And above those that rise against me, you have lifted me. From the violent man you deliver me. Therefore I will give thanks to you, O Lord, among the nations, and to your name I will sing praises. He gives great salvation to his king, and he performs kindness to his anointed, to David and to his seed, forevermore. End of chapter 22. So, let's talk about what this really means here. This is another recap. It says that he spoke these words on the day that the Lord delivered him from the hand of all his enemies and from the hand of Saul. So this seems to be something of a flashback of dialogue. This is a reference to something that happened with David earlier in the chronology, when it says that he was saved from the hand of Saul and all his enemies. One might think this took place way back when Saul was still around, just after he had died. Others might think this comes at the end of his life, reflecting on all of his conquests, including the defeat of Absalom. I'm going to go on and suggest that he is speaking at the time after taking the throne, but not after having the entire situation with Uriah and his wife Bathsheba, because at this time David at least is still quote-unquote pure and of innocent quality relative to worship. So I'm going to go ahead and suggest that this is just a sort of a psalm or a song that is recalled at the end of the book here. So we're going to go ahead and basically go from there. That is my assertion that all of this is relative to his time when he has assumed the throne and various people are becoming his. Remember, David was one to dance and celebrate and all these things, so this is something that he said at that time, most likely. Now we can move on to chapter 23, verse 1 of Samuel 2. And these are the last words of David, the saying of David the son of Jesse, and the saying of the man raised on high, the anointed of the God of Jacob, and the sweet singer of Israel. The Spirit of the Lord spoke in me, and his word was upon my tongue. The God of Israel said, concerning me spoke the rock of Israel, a ruler over men shall be the righteous man, he that rules in the fear of God. And as the light of the morning when the sun shines, a morning without clouds, more than the light that follows the rain that falls upon the grass of the earth. For my house is not so with God. For an everlasting covenant has he made with me, fully set forth and heeded for all my salvation, and all the desire is before him. For he will not sprout forth another on the throne. But the wicked are all as thorns thrust away, for they cannot be taken in hand. But if a man touch them, he should be armed with iron and the staff of a spear, and with fire they shall be utterly burned in their place. These are the names of the mighty men who served David. He who sat in the assembly of the wise, the chief of the threesome, he was Adino the Etznite, who lifted his spear against the 800 slain at one time. And after him came Eleazar, the son of Dodo, the son of an Ahohite, who was among the 3 mighty men that were with David when they risked their lives against the Philistines that were gathered there to do battle, while the men of Israel had departed. He rose up and smote the Philistines until his hand was weary, and his hand cleaved to the sword, and the Lord performed a great victory that day. And when the people returned after him, it was only to strip the slain. And after him came Shammah the son of Agag the mountaineer. Now the Philistines were gathered together into a troop, and there was a plot of ground full of lentils, and the people had fled from the Philistines. But he stationed himself in the midst of the plot, and he defended it, and he slew the Philistines, and the Lord performed a great victory. And 3 of the 30 chiefs went down, and they came in the harvest time to David to the cave of Adullam, and the troop of the Philistines were encamped in the valley of Rephaim. And David was then in the stronghold, and the garrison of the Philistines was then in Bethlehem. And David desired, and he said, Oh, if one would only give me water to drink from the well of Bethlehem, which is by the gate. And the 3 mighty men broke through the camp of the Philistines, and they drew water out of the well of Bethlehem, that was by the gate. And they carried it and brought it back to David. But he did not care to drink it, and he poured it out before the Lord. And he said, Be it far from me, O Lord, that I should do this. Shall I drink the blood of the men that went in jeopardy of their lives? And he would not drink it, these deeds performed by the 3 mighty men. And Abishai, the brother of Joab, the son of Zeruiah, was chief of the 3. And he roused his sword against 300 slain at one time, and he had acquired a name among the 3. Of the 3 he was most honored, and he was their captain, but to the first 3 he did not attain. And Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, the son of a valiant man, great in deeds, of Kabzeel. He smote the 2 mighty men of Moab, and he went down and smote the lion inside a pit on a snowy day. And he slew an Egyptian, a man of striking appearance, and in the Egyptian's hand was a spear. And he went down to him with only a staff, and he grabbed the spear from the hand of the Egyptian, and slew him with his own spear. These deeds performed by Benaiah the son of Jehoiada, and he had acquired a name among the 3 mighty men. Of the 30 he was the most honored, but to the first 3 he never did attain. And David placed him over his following. Asahel the brother of Joab was among the 30. Elhanan the son of Dodo of Bethlehem. Shammah the Harodite, Elika the Harodite, Helez the Paltite, Ira the son of Ikesh the Tekoite, Abiezer the Anatotite, Mebunai the Hushatite, Zalmon the Ahohite, Maharai the Netophatite, Heleb the son of Baanah the Netophatite, Itai the son of Ribai of Gibeah, of the children of Benjamin, Benaiah a Parathonite, Hidai of Nahale Goash, Abialbon the Arbathite, Asmaveth the Barhumite, Eliabah the Shalbonite of the sons of Yashen, Jonathan, Shammah the Harite, Ahiam the son of Sharar the Ararite, Eliphelet the son of Ahasbai, the son of Maachtit, Eliam the son of Ahitopel the Gilonite, Hezrai the Carmelite, Paarai the Arbite, Igal the son of Nathan of Zobah, Bani the Gadite, Zelek the Ammonite, Nachri the Beerothite, the armor-bearer of Joab the son of Zeruiah, Ira an Ithrite, Gareb an Ithrite, Uriah the Hittite, 37 in all. End of chapter 23. So let's go ahead and review this once again. So this is now, it says, the final words of David. These are the last words of David. So we can assume that he is making his final proclamation. This is before he dies, presumably. This is his farewell address. And what he does is he glorifies God once again. But really, when you read this, it seems that he's also glorifying himself, or at least his relationship with God. So he's saying that, he was put in this position and that God protected him and glorified him, as making sure that nobody else will take the throne but him and his seed. And so with this all being said, he also gives some advice, and then he concludes by naming the most honored people of his generation. So these are the names of the mighty men who served David. So he who sat in the assembly of the wise, the chief of the threesome, Adino the Etznite. So this is the first. There are 3 guys that are like his top 3 men of valor of the era. So the first is him, Adino the Etznite. Next is Eleazar, son of Dodo, son of an Ahohite. So he also has a very triumphant, incredible battle. And lastly is Shammah, the son of Agay, the mountaineer. And once again, we hear how this guy had a miraculous performance in the field of battle. So the first one managed to, let's see here. He basically held the line when everybody else was running away. This first guy, let's see here. He used his spear, 800 slain at one time. So this guy basically fought 1 against 800 and he won. So it says. Next up, we have a guy who held the line where the Philistines were gathering in to do battle and everybody else ran away. This guy stuck by David and he fought on. And so he kept fighting until he was simply exhausted. And when everybody else showed up, it was only after he had already won, basically. So he had earned his place amongst this great 3. And finally, it says similarly that everybody else ran away from Shammah, from the Philistines, but this guy Shammah stayed and he defended this field of lentils, and not only defended it, but slew the invaders. It says the Lord performed a great victory, so God was with this man as well, and so David commemorates this miraculous victory. So these top 3 guys are the very best. And then from there, we hear about another thing of great valor about these guys is that they were basically just incredible men. These deeds performed the 3 mighty men. So next up, we hear about another 3 mighty men. So it's not 100% clear to me if the 3 that he spoke of first, I believe those first 3 are now like that's what they did. Then he's on to 3 other men of valor. And so these 3, he basically explains that these other 3 guys, when he wanted some water, these guys challenged their own fate by going beyond the holding line of the Philistines to get him water. And they brought it back to David. And it's interesting, he says, the English here uses the language David as if talking in the third person, and they brought it back to David. This sounds like a very Roman way to speak, albeit that is the English translation, so it may not be so. But let's see here. Let me see if I can find it in the Hebrew. So they brought it back. El David, yeah, so they brought it back to David. So he's talking to himself in the third person, in a way that you often would see about like Romans writing about themselves. Interesting. Now, from here, he glorifies these guys and does this. So these 3 guys were the ones who took the big risk. It says Abishai, brother of Joab, the son of Zeruiah, is one of them. Number 2 is Benayahu, the son of Jehoiada. And then lastly, let's see, who else? Asahel. No, so this is from the next group. So our second group of 3 are Abishai, Benayahu, and who's the third one? Oh, here. Benayahu. So yeah, no, there's only 2 there. So as I keep reading this over and over, I'm not seeing a third name amongst these 3 great men. Now, as I mentioned, there were the first 3 mighty men who were just the best, the very best. Then he named 2 others who, it says, did not reach the same level of acclaim as the other 2, or as the other 3. And he only names specifically Abishai and what's this other guy's name here? Benayahu. So we have Abishai and Benayahu. He doesn't name the third person, and I'm curious about this. Why did he not name this third person? Of the 30, he was the most honored, but to the first 3, he never did attain. And David placed him over his following. Asahel, the brother of Joab, was among the 30, Eltanan, son of Dodo of Bethlehem. So either it was Asahel, the brother of Joab, or what I'm going to propose is my possible answer for who the missing third guy is. If it's not Asahel, it's Joab himself. And if we think about all these chiefs, right? So we get a long list of names. And it says 37 in all. Now, I'm not going to count them here. But I do think it's very interesting that David's saying that there are 3 great men and then also 3 other great men who did something, but they're not as great as the first 3. I find it incredibly interesting to me that he names all these people, but he never mentions the name Joab himself. He talks about 2 of Joab's brothers, but does not honor Joab. And that is very curious to me. So he may be suggesting that Joab is indeed of this level of honor, but he doesn't name him. He expressly leaves his name out. Why? Well, if we think about all the things that have happened, Joab has time and time again done 2 things. 1, he's been a very mighty general who's fought on behalf of David. But 2, he's also killed a bunch of people. I'd go so far as to even say he's murdered several people just because he decided to do so, such as Abner, son of Ner, who was supposed to become one of David's guys. And he had turned himself over to join David, and then what happened? Joab killed him in vengeance for his fallen brother. How did Absalom die? Joab. What happened to the guy that David put in charge after Joab? He got killed by Joab too. So maybe the third man of valor is Joab, but David has intentionally omitted his name to prove a point. And it definitely tracks because of the things that he has done for David. I would not be surprised if he is one of them. But in this case, when we think about, there's this one portion of the Torah where Moses is not named, right, where he's like explicitly left out and it's a rather important one. I feel like this may be something comparable with Yoab being intentionally left out of the list of the 30 chiefs and the men of valor. And so we go down the list and we get all these different men that we basically see glorified, and he does not glorify Yoab himself, right? Even Nachri the Beerothite, the armor bearer of Yoab. So he's naming everybody except for Yoab. I think that's very interesting. Who is the third man? It's probably Yoab himself. Now, if I'm just missing something in my reading here, apologies. But if I'm not, then I think that's the missing third man from the second group of men of valor. So the most valorous men were the first three. The second group of three were the two I mentioned plus Yoab, but Yoab is never mentioned. Maybe he doesn't count. I don't know. After that, we get a full list of all the chiefs, and the very last. And so again, to emphasize this, we've got like 30 plus 3 plus 3, so that's 36 plus 1. The final name, Uriah the Hittite. So David has in the end of his time, he has remembered and glorified the name of Uriah, who was a man of valor. Uriah was killed because of what David had done to steal his wife. He saw him be killed in battle intentionally. He set him up. And similarly, I do believe Yoab may have been a part of that little plan. So in doing this, this was the one thing that allowed David to fall from grace, if you will. So that's another reason to leave Yoab's name out of here, is that he was complicit in the plan to kill Uriah. He was a loyal soldier, both of them, but Uriah was a righteous one. And so the Hittite, who again, he's a Hittite, he's not even supposed to be here, but he still gets named. Also, Jonathan is mentioned by name, just the name Jonathan. So that's beautiful too. Though there are 2 Jonathans, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, I do find that significant that the very last name that he mentions is Uriah, the Hittite. That's a form of atonement if I've ever seen one. But it still doesn't change what he did, you know. So that's also something that comes to mind because in the previous chapter, he made a whole point about saying he had not done something, like he'd been one with God's ways. Well, that's the exception. So maybe that is also in part why he has chosen not to name Yoab his conspirator. Moving on to the final chapter, chapter 24. Verse 1 of Samuel 2. And again the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he moved David against them, saying, Go count Israel and Judah. And the king said to Joab, the captain of the host that was with him, Go, please, to and fro throughout all the tribes of Israel, from Dan as far as Beersheba, and take census of the people, so that I may know the number of the people. And Joab said to the king, May the Lord your God add to the people 100-fold of whatsoever they may be, and the eyes of my lord the king may see it. But my lord the king, why does he desire such a thing? But the word of the king prevailed against Joab, and against the captains of the host. And Joab and the captains of the host went out from the presence of the king to number the people, the Israelites. And they crossed the Jordan, and they camped in Aroer, to the right of the city that is situated in the middle of the valley of Gad, and to Jahazer. And they came to Gilead, and the land of Tachtim Hodshi. And they came to Dan, to the city of Ya'an, and round about to Zidon. And they came to the stronghold of Tyre, and to all the cities of the Hivites, and of the Canaanites, and they went out to the south of Judah, to Beersheba. And they had gone to and fro throughout the entire land, and they came at the end of 9 months and 20 days back to Jerusalem. And Joab presented the sum of the number of the people to the king. And Israel consisted of 800,000 valiant men that drew the sword, and the men of Judah were 500,000 men. And David's heart smote him after he had counted the people. And David said to the Lord, I have sinned greatly in what I have done. And now, O Lord, put aside, please, the iniquity of your servant, for I was very foolish. And David rose up in the morning, and the word of the Lord came to Gad the prophet, the seer of David, saying, Go and speak to David. So says the Lord. 3 things I offer you. Choose for yourself one of them, and I shall do it to you. And Gad came to David, and he told him, and he said to him,
Do you prefer that 7 years of famine in your land shall come upon you, or 3 months that you shall flee before your oppressor while he pursues you, or that there be 3 days' pestilence in your land? Now know and consider what I shall reply to him that sent me.
And David said to Gad, I am greatly oppressed. Let us fall now into the hand of the Lord, for his mercies are great, but into the hand of man let me not fall. So the Lord sent a pestilence upon Israel from the morning until the appointed time. And there died of the people from Dan to Beersheba 70,000 men. And the angel stretched out his hand toward Jerusalem to destroy it. And the Lord regretted the evil. And he said to the angel that destroyed among the people, It is enough. Now stay your hand. And the angel of the Lord was by the threshing floor of Aravnah the Jebusite. And David said to the Lord, when he saw the angel that smote among the people, and he said, Behold, I have sinned, and have acted iniquitously. But these sheep, what have they done? I beg that your hand be against me and against my father's house. And Gad came to David on that day, and said to him,
Go up to erect an altar to the Lord in the threshing floor of Aravnah the Jebusite.
And David went up according to the word of Gad, as the Lord had commanded. And Aravnah looked afar, and he saw the king and his servants passing on towards him. And Aravnah went out, and he bowed to the king with his face to the ground. And Aravnah said, Why is the Lord my king come to his servant? And David said, To acquire from you the threshing floor, in order to build an altar to the Lord, that the plague be stayed from the people. And Aravnah said to David, Let my lord the king take and offer up what seems good in his eyes. Behold, the oxen for the burnt offering, and the threshing tools, and the wooden tools of the oxen for firewood. All this Aravnah the king gave to the king. And Aravnah said to the king,
May the Lord your God accept you.
And the king said to Aravnah, No, for I will only buy it from you at a price, so that I will not offer to the Lord my God burnt offerings which I had received for nothing. And David bought the threshing floor and the oxen for 50 shekels of silver. And David built there an altar to the Lord, and he offered up burnt offerings and peace offerings. And the Lord was entreated for the land, and the plague was stayed from Israel. End of chapter 24. So here we get into the final chapter here. So I was looking at this with confusion when I did my little pregame, and normally I avoid doing this, but I was so confused that I had to know what was the official commentary here on the Chabad website. And so I was curious. It said the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he moved David against them, right? So the question is why? I was curious, what did the Israelites do to cause this anger? And I had my own theories. Maybe they had turned once again to idols. Maybe they had been intermarrying with the other peoples. After all, we hear so many different names other than Israelite names. And what is the answer? When I clicked on the commentary, the response was, the commentary doesn't know either. I don't know regarding what. It's like, okay, well, that's fine. So it looks like we're all in the same boat. It's not entirely clear, even amongst the actual scholars. So I'm going to go ahead and say, based on the next section, where it says that he wanted to send a census. David hears that the people are upset. God's telling him, you got to go do something about it. And so he says, go get me a census of the people. And the end result is that there are 800,000 men with the sword, right? So 800,000 valiant men that drew the sword. And the men of Judah were 500,000 men. That's awfully interesting, isn't it? Why is it that one tribe, Judah, is this large? Why is it that the tribe of Judah alone is this much bigger than all the rest of Israel combined? That's not cool. And so it says David's heart smote him after he had counted the people. And basically, and he says that he had sinned. So he started saying how foolish he was, and these numbers are not good. I mean, what does this suggest? This suggests that he has been only taking care of the tribe of Judah, or that the people outside of Judah have been going their own way. Whatever it may be, David is supposed to be the king over all these people, yet only his tribe has grown more powerful, and all the rest of Israel has grown to be only 800,000, with Judah becoming 500,000. That's That's so disproportionate, it's not even funny. The ratio is immensely off. So that's probably what it is. And again, in trying to find the answer earlier, it does suggest similarly in the Chabad commentary, this has something to do with the numbers. I'm definitely leaning into that explanation myself, just because David really has dropped the ball. I'm not going to be surprised if he has not shown unreasonable favor to only the people of Judah, and as a result, they have grown so numerous that he's really failed his job. Like, he's supposed to represent all of Israel, and look what he's done. You know, and Benjamin, right? Saul was in charge of Benjamin, and he was leading the different tribes and whatnot for that brief period of time. Well, David's been doing this for decades, and look at the current state of the people. I mean, he's really dropped the ball. It took 9 months to get this census done, and look at the results. Judah is vastly outnumbering the average tribe. By, to take the 800,000, divide that by 11 or 12, or divide it by 11, and there you go. I mean, he has really, he's basically, his tribe is outnumbering everybody over 5-1. So, yeah, very, very shameful job, King. You failed the people. So anyway, God says that he's going to, he sends a prophet named Gad, and he gives him 3 options. Option 1, 7 years of famine. Option 2, 3 months you'll flee from your oppressor while he pursues you. Option 3, 3 days pestilence. Well, of these 3, David says, I am greatly oppressed. Let us fall now into the hand of the Lord. For his mercies are great, but in the hand of man let me not fall. So, pestilence is the answer. It says it fell upon Israel from the morning until the appointed time. There died of the people from Dan to Beersheba 70,000 men. So people are, once again, not in Jerusalem, so they're not from the tribe of Judah. Everybody else is getting smote. And he looks out, it says that the angel stretched out his hand toward Jerusalem to destroy it, and the Lord regretted the evil, and he said to the angel, it's enough, now stay your hand. And the angel of the Lord was by the threshing floor of Aravnah the Jebusite. So David basically says, I've sinned and acted iniquitously. These sheep, what have they done? So he's talking about those, he says these sheep, right? But does he mean the actual sheep? No, he's talking about Israel. It's him who's dropped the ball. It's him who's failed. Now, keep in mind, one of the commands, be fruitful and multiply, right? Well, if the tribe of Judah is getting so big and the other ones aren't, then clearly someone's dropped the ball here again. So, he needs to figure out some sort of repopulation plan for the other Israelites, or chill out in the tribe of Judah, or whatever it is, man. So he's just saying, like, I'm the one who failed here. Punish me and my father's house. And so the response is, go build an altar to the Lord, right? An altar to the Lord in the threshing floor of Aravnah the Jebusite. And so Aravnah sees him, and what's interesting is here, it refers to Aravnah as a king. So it's Aravnah the king gave to the king. So Aravnah HaMelech, right? So it's saying that Aravnah must be the king of the Jebusites. But even he sees David and bows before him. So even amongst the Jebusites, David is, still the sovereign in the region. Or this is just an elevation of Aravnah, who is being compared to a king because his home is about to become an altar. His threshing floor is about to become an altar. So maybe he becomes more than just a Jebusite commoner. Now he gets elevated to kinghood, whatever it is. This is the significance of the verse, I think. And now he offers to give him the goods for free. He's like, let me give this to you. And David says, no, I need to buy it. And this is very important because that's one of the deals when it comes to making offerings, is that you have to actually pay for it, and you can't make offerings of other people's things. So David has maintained the correct behavior here. And so he makes the offering and he puts it up, and the Lord was entreated for the land, and the plague was stayed from Israel. So with this, David has ultimately put a stop to things. And this is the final chapter of the book of Samuel 2. It's a lot to think about here. A lot of strange things happen in this book. Book 2, I mentioned before, I found what I thought was something of an inconsistency. It's also chronologically all over the place, whereas, the Torah and all the previous books of Judges also seem to not be so severe, though those also jump around a little bit. The book of Judges, I believe, jumped around a little bit at times. This feels like an interesting chronicle that you'd hear of a kingdom or a kingship. I'm not super crazy about it. I mean, I get that David's supposed to be this really special guy, but he really dropped the ball a couple times, especially with how he handled the situation with Absalom. He failed in that. He also did not do so great in regards to certain particular things having to do with, I don't know, did he not have enough wives? Did he need Bathsheba? Did he need to get Uriah killed? God forgave him because they had a special arrangement, but, what about Moses? Look at all the stuff Moses had to go through, and he was not given the same glory that David received. He was not given the same compassion and patience, because Moses was totally on the level with God, but able to talk to him face to face. And here's David. David gets a lot more leniency, I think, than Moses did, because Moses, after all, got punished. But at the same time, David never directly disobeyed God in the sense of, like, God said, do this, and he basically refused. He also didn't talk back to God. So maybe that's why he got a little extra mercy. And he made good deals with God that Moses did not expressly make, because Moses was so humble. Whatever the case may be, this is the conclusion of the 2 books of Samuel. And as I said, David, you make of him what you will. Until next time, this has been Shmuel Moshe with the Weekly Parashahcast Season 2 saying thank you for listening. And as always, until next time, Baruch Hashem.